Let me introduce our panel here. We are going to look now at the concept of reinventing them all. And I think you're in that wonderful city that, if nothing else, we have reinvented them all. I've been here 12 years now, and each mall gets better and bigger and different. So please, I'd like to welcome our panel for this. From Al Tayer Insignia, the CEO, Khalid Al Tayer, is going to join us. If he would, we can please get him to the stage. Here he is. So we're going to hear, I'm not going to tell your story, but tremendous work, of course, going on at Al Tayer Insignia. Thank you so much for taking the time. From Gulf Related, the Managing Director for Commercial and General Counsel, Daniel Parry, is joining us. Daniel, thank you so much. And again, I saw your stand very, very busy there. We'll pop by it, and you'll probably have more visitors after this. Thank you. And from Macy's, returning to our stage, again, the Chairman, Terry Lundgren. Thank you again so much for taking the time. Now, I'd like to welcome our moderator for this session. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Traub, Morty Singer. Mortimer, if you can join us. Now, we're going to wait just a few minutes before we get the panel started, so I'm going to let you all get comfortable and wait until His Highness shows up. So then this, of course, will be our last panel of the day, and then we will break for lunch. Our last panel of the morning, because, of course, our afternoon sessions, then we break into the workshops. So tremendous workshops, all in the afternoons, and I know many of you have looked at that. If you haven't looked at the workshop you're going to go to, perhaps you want to take a look at that. And again, a lot more knowledge sharing for the afternoon. We're going to be hearing from some great speakers. And a real opportunity. I know it's been really busy and we haven't had much time. We have had no time to get any questions. So sorry about that. But all of our panelists, I mean, they've been incredibly engaging. They needed every minute of their session, so I hope you have time to meet with them, and they've said they're very, very happy to meet with you all while they're here, of course. So it's about grabbing them actually in between the sessions. But the afternoon sessions, they're really very much interactive, almost workshop-style sessions, whereby you can fill in there and put in, your benefit into this too, because we really want to hear from everybody. This particular session, I'm really excited to be listening to what you're going to say. And sorry to have to keep you quiet for a few more minutes. But the experience of all of you, I think, when we look at reinventing the mall, we can all look at our own experience in a shopping mall. From small, uneventful shopping malls to now shopping experiences. Let me see the latest here. Okay. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to start our session. His Highness is running just a little bit late, so we'll get our session started. Mortimer, you will get the buzz when I'll come back and... In fact, no, I have to hang around, they've told me.
Hang around.
So I'll take this one and then you can blend in there.
We'll tag team.
So I'm the observer for this one.
Wonderful. Well, it's wonderful to be here, and we have a small topic to handle, which is reinventing the mall. So we have a short period of time to do that, and what we'll try and do is we'll talk about the customer. We'll talk a little bit about placemaking and what that means today, and then the plumbing of how it actually comes together, and how what happens behind the scenes to reinvent these malls. And we've been doing it in this city. It's been happening for many, many years. So reinvention has been a thesis here for a very long time. So where better to have this discussion than Dubai, and who better to kick off the conversation than Mr. Khalid Al Tayer, who is sitting on this stage with actually two partners of his. One, Terry from Macy's, the other, Daniel from Al Marriott Central, a Gulf-related property in Abu Dhabi. And the notion of partnership being vital today, more so than ever, to plan and organize oneself. So, Khalid, obviously, you sit here as the person who has product and a customer in this city and on this stage. How are you, given the fact that she is so mobile in nature, the Emirati consumer is one of the most active on digital media in the world, given that they're so effectively young and demanding, globally aware, what are you doing to keep them engaged and coming back?
Thanks, Morty. It's not an easy job. It's the challenge of all retail today. I think this part of the world is no different in the evolution of the customer. But what's interesting about the Middle Eastern customers, specifically the GCC and the UAE customers, their fast adoption rate. In the last 3 decades alone, the level of sophistication that the customer has gone through in the maturity cycle, through global exposure of brands, through relatively high disposable income per capita compared to the other parts of the world, has really made them embrace new trends and new styles, very, very fast. I don't think we've seen this in other parts of the world. I think maybe Asia or China has been a very fast adopter as of late. But that's really set in a very interesting dynamic of the evolution of retail. We've heard that Dubai is number 2 in terms of representation of brands worldwide after London. Now, going forward, we're seeing another evolutionary change and a fast-paced change brought in by digital commerce. And what digital commerce is enabling is knowledge acquired through transparency of product and brands and communication of these brands, but also the voice of influencers that are completely changing the landscape of marketing and the value system of these consumers. So we're seeing this coming in a very fast-paced level of evolution. We have a very nascent digital commerce landscape, but we believe that that's going to evolve very fast because this customer is seeing this around the world, is exposed to it when they travel. They're buying online from different parts of the world. So we're seeing the next 5 to 10 years being very transformative for our consumer. They're very young, they're very adaptive to change, and they're very happy with what they're doing. عليكم السلام.
Assalamu alaikum. A very, very warm welcome to you, and we're very, very honored to have you here with us, Your Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Chairman of Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Knowledge Foundation and President of the UAE National Olympic Committee. So we're very honored you've taken the time to join us. We have a very interesting discussion, and I also want to welcome, of course, your delegation with you. Thank you all so much for being with us. And now I'll hand back.
So just as a quick summary, we've been talking about reinventing the mall, which is something that Dubai has been doing for a very long time. So what a fitting venue to do this. So once again, and being in Dubai, it is my pleasure to welcome you here, His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the chairman of Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Knowledge Foundation and the president of the UAE National Olympic Committee. So we'll resume, therefore, this digital component, but the store is so important, the experience, the bricks and the mortar. Terry, do you feel in what you do in the United States, and you're also now obviously been looking at China for a few years now, when those threads, do they go global?
Well, I believe so. As I've said in my earlier comments this morning, I think the customer today and the customer of tomorrow will be this omni-channel customer, the customer who shops us on multiple dimensions. So even here in the UAE, they're starting the journey of shopping with their mobile device and researching where they're going to shop this day, and then coming in to experience the store. And over time, I think you'll also begin to see more transactions taking place on the mobile device, so I think that translates everywhere, absolutely. And the more that this consumer touches us in these different dimensions, either on a laptop, desktop, and a mobile device, and a physical experience, that makes the consumer much more engaged with your brand, and that consumer is 5 times more valuable to us in the United States, and I presume that will translate elsewhere, than the consumer who only touches us with one dimension, either just coming into our store, just shopping on a mobile device, or just shopping on a desktop. So this is what we want, and this is what you're going to see worldwide.
And so, Daniel, you're speaking about bricks and mortar. You're building a huge project in Abu Dhabi with these 2 gentlemen as your partners. Why is the mall relevant anymore? Do people feel in Abu Dhabi that they want to be in malls? What have you learned? What are you hearing?
One of the things that we've done as we build the mall, and we've heard a lot today, is about the experience. We've just done a local experience where we surveyed 1,000 people. We asked them, what are they looking for? What do they want? What are their touch points? What's their emotional connection? And it doesn't come as a surprise to everyone that 94% of the people we surveyed said, the mall's relevant for our leisure time. We want to go to the mall in our leisure time. So as a developer, we then dial that back. When does that experience start? And it starts before you leave your house. From a developer, for a mall to be relevant today, people, when they're at home and they're choosing all the different options, saying, why am I going to the mall? And so what we've done is looked at why people go to the mall. Number 1 is retail. You want the best retail experience. In our opinion, nothing delivers that better than the department stores. So before we picked up a pen and pencil and started designing the store, we talked to Khalid. We worked with Terry's group. We've designed 2 incredible department stores to deliver those experiences the way that the department stores do it. We then looked at the inline retail. How do we create boxes? We're working with the retailers early on to design stores that are good for them. But we don't just stop at the retail, because that's not what malls are just about today. F&B, placemaking you hear a lot about. People want a sense of community. They want to be entertained. So we've increased our entertainment for all age groups, from the little kids to the teenagers to the young couples, older couples, around the spectrum. Sometimes it's a 1-hour experience, sometimes it's a 3-hour experience. People want to meet to be dined, which is why 20% of our mall is now going to be F&B. We go from the top, which is the Le Petit Maisons, the Zoomers, all the way to the fast food. So the relevance to the mall, it just has to adapt. We work together with the online community, but we create that experience for the retailers to showcase their product.
Would you say that the Time Warner Center in New York City is sort of a blueprint for some of the things you're doing in Abu Dhabi?
Correct. I think Time Warner Center is the start of the model. They've done an incredible job in what they're doing now at Hudson Yards. For people who don't know, Golf Related is part of the Related companies from the States.
Okay. And so, Terry, maybe speak a little bit about this notion of partnership. I mean, I think for decades, landlords and retailers have been on the other side of the table from each other. But increasingly, and quite often in the United States, there are much deeper partnerships between retailer and developer. This has happened in this instance in Abu Dhabi. Maybe speak a little bit about the importance of everyone really coming together and planning way back, even to site selection as well.
Well, I'll start by saying that I put Khalid through a very painful process when selecting he and his family to work with Bloomingdale's and Macy's. But it was because it was the first time we were actually giving up our brand for someone else to manage besides us. So it was a very important decision. Having said that, we know we made now the right decision because we've had a very successful venture here in Dubai, and now we've opened our first Bloomingdale store in Kuwait, the Avenues, and we'll be opening in Abu Dhabi with Daniel with a Macy's and a Bloomingdale. So that partnership is critical. So I have no regrets over the years of meetings that we had in order to finally conclude that we would be partners together. And obviously that has worked out quite well.
So maybe speak a little bit about Kuwait, which recently opened, and I think is a precursor for things to come in the UAE. Obviously, you're building on an incredible platform already. Tell us a little bit about some of the rave reviews, at least that I'm hearing from that.
Well, we opened the store a month ago, and we're going through the honeymoon period, and we're well ahead of plan. So I hope that honeymoon period continues indefinitely.
Me too.
I think what's great about that store, I think it was the first version of what we've done in Abu Dhabi, and it starts from the genesis of the idea and the partnership with the mall. We have the best partners as well with Tamdeen, Mohammed Al Marzouk, and the Marzouk family, for us to partner with them in the mall and try to create something that really fits for that market. And when we discussed the opportunity, it was more about discovering what is right for Kuwait. So we took the time to look at our data, because we have some good retail operations in Kuwait, look at the customer perspective, look at what is working in the mall itself, because it was an existing operating mall, and then come up with a bespoke product. I think we are really, in our view, and this is part of the vetting process that Terry put us through, which is how do we make a successful global flagship operation for the Bloomingdale's and the Macy's brands. And so we had to achieve that by looking at creating something unique that is going to be successful versus a replicatable model. We stayed true to the brand identity, but then when we come up to develop that store in Kuwait, we looked at the categories that work and we oversized them while still keeping the full experience for her. And so uniquely, we took the time to study that. We came up back to the United States, presented a concept that we thought was a little bit far out, and we said, Terry, what do you think of opening a women's only Bloomingdale's store? It's never been done before.
Never been done.
With the exception of the beauty category, it was really a women's focused product, and I think there was the trust and the data to support that decision, and we've opened what we believe is a gem of a store. But again, it was very much a bespoke for the country of Kuwait, for the city of Kuwait, and specifically for 360 Mall, where it does not compete with the product offer there, but creates a contiguous complementary offer. And I think going back to Abu Dhabi, that's exactly the approach that we took. And from the genesis of the idea of the site selection to the design of the mall around an anchor strategy where the anchors had to work with the developer, and so recognize what they need to do to be successful, what we can do to be successful, and jointly develop that. And I think that's what it takes today. It's sort of a collaborative, one-team approach for the global success of the project, no longer sort of an arm's length, you do this, I'll do this, replicate what you've done somewhere else. I think the future is more about experience, and to do that, you have to be very specific to where you're going. And so the Bloomingdale's and Macy's that we're opening in Abu Dhabi, I don't see them coming up anywhere else in the same design, because they're very specific to Al Marya Central.
So you talked about customization to the local population in Kuwait, not dissimilar to My Macy's program,
Yes.
which you instituted a few years ago.
Indeed, and My Macy's, for those of you who do not know that term, we have 500 department stores in the United States, and you can imagine not only the weather pattern, but the apparel preferences of Miami Beach versus Minneapolis couldn't be more different. And so we had to understand the local knowledge. Like we have to understand the local knowledge here, and this is something we could not do on our own. This is why we have to have our partners, Al Tayer Group, to help us understand the local needs. In fact, different in Kuwait from Abu Dhabi, from Dubai.
And so, Daniel, therefore, coming down to customization and localization, you've obviously already had some learnings from the Galleria, which is the first phase of this project. What are you learning from your customers today, and how are you translating that into the greater construct of what we're talking about at Al Marya Central in this grand partnership?
One of the key things, as I said a minute ago, it starts with incredible shopping experience. People come to malls. The number one reason of the research that we just concluded was people want to go for shopping. Number two was they want to have the experience for the family. So what we've done at Al Marya Central, we're incorporating public parks. These are public open spaces dedicated and segmented to different age groups and different needs and different wants. It's people are wanting to come, they want convenience. So we've created 7,000 car spaces and more entries into those car spaces than I can think of. It's creating beautiful, light, airy, open spaces. One of the things in Abu Dhabi, it's got a very young population. So we've got baby change rooms. We've just increased it from 30 to 40 baby change rooms and family rooms. Again, catering to the local community. What's the community looking for? Entertainment, children's entertainment. One of the statistics, and it's probably not a surprise to anyone here in Dubai, Dubai is probably the #1 place or city in the world where entertainment connected to malls exists. Asia is probably the #1 for food. And 46% of people from Abu Dhabi shop in Dubai malls for the entertainment. So one of the things we need to focus on is bring that entertainment into Abu Dhabi. It's what one of the panels said earlier. It's understanding the local market and what experience they're seeking, and then adapting to that.
Yeah, and then customer service, I think, also plays into that, and trying to make the experience of being in that shopping center or department store more enjoyable. How do you see actual services now playing into the retail experience, either in the mall or even in the department stores?
Well, it's critical, and I think, and I said again in my comments earlier this morning, that the advantage of the physical department store is this one-on-one, personalized, customized relationship. And yes, you can learn this online and then deliver that, and we do with our own very strong online business. But I do think that that personal and positive reinforcement of one human being to another in a physical environment is very difficult to replace electronically. And I would also say, keep in mind that what we're creating is major jobs. I mean, this is what we're creating. You know, my own company has 140,000 employees in the United States. Just imagine the employees you're going to create in your shopping center when you build it, not just in our stores, but in the mall itself and the food service. And so this is a really critical aspect of giving back to these communities that we serve that sometimes gets overlooked when we just think about just the online growth itself, which does not produce nearly as many, in my own case, for Macy's.com and Bloomingdale's.com, the number of jobs that our physical retail stores do.
So we have 1 minute left, so maybe from each of you, starting with Khalid and going around, what do you think the next 5-10 years will mean to the furthering of retail theater, retail entertainment, retail as hospitality? What do you think, in one sentence, is the thing that you're going to focus on the most?
I don't think you can underestimate the creative process of creating experiences, and to do that you need very strong partnerships to work with the landlords and the retailers to achieve that. And I think that really is so important, to come up with what the customer is going to tell you they would like to see and experience.
Daniel?
Yeah, I echo Khalid's sentiment. It's understanding the experience, what people are looking for, and making sure you adapt to cater to it.
Terry, last word?
Finally, it is experience. It's just we have to offer something that's not available elsewhere. It's just got to be something unique, something special that is ours and not everyone else's.
We've hit it right on the nail. We're done. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.